The moment Patrick kissed me unexpectedly on that rainy Chicago night, my heart stopped, and my mind raced with 1,000 questions I wasn't ready to answer. Little did I know that this single act would unravel the carefully constructed life I had built to please my traditional family and fit into a society that still whispered judgments behind closed doors. I stood frozen under the awning of our favorite dive bar on North Avenue, the rain drumming on the metal roof like 1,000 tiny accusations. Patrick pulled back his eyes wide with a mix of fear and relief, his hand still gripping my coat sleeve. "Kenneth, I've wanted to do that for 10 years, he whispered, his voice cracking over the thunder. 10 years. We had met in freshman orientation at the University of Illinois, both of us wide-eyed kids from different worlds. I was the scholarship kid from a small town in Indiana with a father who preached Sunday sermons about family values and a mother who already had my future wife picked out in her head. Patrick was the city boy from Evanston, the one who always made me laugh when the pressure got too heavy, the one who helped me study for finals and celebrated every promotion with cheap pizza and bad movies. He had dated girls back then, or at least pretended to, and I had done the same, burying any confusing feelings under layers of denial and football games on weekends. Now at 28, I was a rising marketing executive at a downtown firm, wearing tailored suits and nodding along at family dinners about settling down with a nice girl. Patrick worked as a freelance graphic designer out of his loft in Wicker Park, the kind of place with exposed brick and too many plants. We were still best friends, inseparable even after college, but that kiss changed everything in one heartbeat. I shoved him away harder than I meant, to my back hitting the brick wall. "What the hell, Patrick?" The words came out harsher than I intended, but the panic was real. My chest tightened like a vice. What if someone from the office saw? What if my sister texted Mom right now? I could already hear Dad's voice booming through the phone. "No, son of mine." Patrick's face fell, but he didn't back down. "I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I can't keep pretending, Kenneth. Every time we hang out, I feel like I'm dying inside, keeping this secret." Rain soaked through my shirt as I stared at him, the streetlights reflecting in puddles that looked like shattered mirrors. I turned and walked away without another word, my shoes splashing through the water, my mind spinning with images of the life I thought I had secured. By the time I reached my apartment in Lincoln Park, the kiss replayed on loop. I poured a whiskey and sat on the couch staring at the photo on my shelf, us at 22 on a road trip to Michigan, laughing like nothing could touch us. That night, I didn't sleep. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a text from Patrick. "Can we talk? Please." I ignored it. I had to. Work was a blur of meetings and coffee. My boss praised my latest campaign for a big client, but all I could think about was the way Patrick's lips had felt warm and certain against mine. By lunch, I was pacing the break room when my sister Emily called. "Hey, little bro, Dad wants you home this weekend for the barbecue. Bring that girlfriend you've been hiding." I forced a laugh and lied through my teeth, promising I would try. Hanging up, I felt the weight of every expectation crushing down. That evening, Patrick showed up at my door uninvited, his hair still damp from the rain, his eyes red. "You can't just run, Kenneth. We've been through everything together." I let him in against my better judgment, and we sat in silence for what felt like hours. Finally, he spoke again. "I've loved you since the day you helped me move into the dorm, and you carried my ridiculous record collection without complaining once." His words hung in the air like smoke. I wanted to tell him I felt it too, that buried spark I had ignored for years, but the fear was louder. "I don't know if I can do this, Patrick. My family, the job, everything." He nodded slowly, standing up. "Then I guess I just lost my best friend." The door clicked shut behind him, and I slid to the floor, the apartment suddenly too quiet, too empty. The following days blurred into avoidance. I threw myself into work, staying late editing campaigns until my eyes burned. At night, I scrolled through old photos, deleting a few, then restoring them, cursing myself. A colleague noticed my distraction, asking if everything was okay. I brushed it off with a joke, but inside the conflict grew like a storm. Patrick texted once more, "I miss you, man. No pressure, just talk." I didn't reply. Instead, I called my mom and promised to bring a date to the family reunion next month. Lying felt safer than facing the truth. But deep down, I knew the kiss had cracked something open that couldn't be sealed again. 3 weeks passed, and the silence between us felt heavier than any argument we had ever had. I threw myself into training for a half marathon, signing up for early morning runs along the lakefront where the wind off Lake Michigan whipped away the constant replay of that kiss. My legs burned, but my mind stayed stuck on Patrick, the way his hand had trembled when he touched my face. One Saturday, I was stretching near Navy Pier when my phone rang. It was my father. "Kenneth, your mother is worried. You sound distant lately. Everything all right at work?" His tone carried the same authority it had when I was 16, and he caught me skipping youth group. I assured him everything was fine, promising again to bring someone special to the reunion. Hanging up, I felt the familiar knot in my stomach tighten. That afternoon, I broke down and met Patrick at our old coffee shop in Bucktown. He looked thinner, his usual easy smile replaced by cautious hope. We ordered black coffee like always and sat in the corner booth. "I didn't mean to spring it on you like that." He started stirring sugar that wasn't there. But I couldn't keep lying to myself or to you. I stared into my cup, the steam rising like all the unsaid words between us. I felt something too, Patrick. I spent years convincing myself it was nothing. Brothers being bros, right? He laughed softly, but there was pain in it. "Yeah, brothers." We talked for hours that day about everything except the future. He told me about the guys he had dated in secret over the years, always comparing them to me. I admitted the nights I lay awake wondering why no woman ever felt right. By the time the barista flipped the close sign, we had agreed to try friendship again, with honesty this time. The next month was tentative steps forward. We grabbed beers after work, watched games at Patrick's loft, and slowly the old rhythm returned. But something had shifted. Every accidental brush of hands sent electricity through me. One night after a Cubs game, we walked home along the riverwalk, the city lights dancing on the water. Patrick stopped under a bridge. "Kenneth, if this is too much, tell me. I can back off." I looked at him, really looked, and for the first time the fear felt smaller than the pull toward him. "It's not too much," I said, my voice barely above the traffic noise. "It's just new." He smiled, the first real smile in weeks, and we kept walking, shoulders touching. But secrets have a way of cracking under pressure. My coworker Lisa noticed us leaving the office together one Friday and raised an eyebrow. "You two seem close lately." I shrugged it off, but the comment lingered. That weekend at my parents' house in Indiana, the pressure doubled. Dad grilled steaks in the backyard, lecturing me about finding a good Christian girl, while Mom showed me baby photos of my cousin's new engagement. Emily pulled me aside in the kitchen. "You okay? You look like you're carrying the world." I almost told her everything right there, but the words stuck. Instead, I smiled and changed the subject. Driving back to Chicago that Sunday night, I called Patrick. "I need to see you." He met me at my apartment, and when the door closed behind us, the tension broke. We didn't kiss again, not yet, but we talked until dawn about what this could mean. "I don't want to hide forever," he said. "But I won't push you." His understanding only made me love him more. Work deadlines piled up, and I found myself sketching campaign ideas with Patrick's input over late-night video calls. He helped me refine a pitch that landed a major account, and my boss clapped me on the back in the conference room. "You're killing it, Kenneth. Keep this up, and that corner office is yours." The praise felt hollow, knowing the real reason for my focus was the man waiting for my text every evening. One Thursday, Patrick invited me to an art opening in Pilsen, a gallery showing local LGBTQ artists. I hesitated, but went. The colorful canvases spoke of pride and struggle in ways that mirrored my own silent battle. Standing in front of a painting of two men holding hands against a stormy sky, Patrick leaned close. "That's us right now, isn't it?" I nodded, swallowing hard. On the ride home in his old truck, the city lights blurring past, I reached over and took his hand. It was small, but it was a start. The following week, everything accelerated. My sister texted a photo of the family reunion invitation with my name and a +1 slot. "Bring someone real this time," she joked. Panic set in. Patrick noticed during our usual Thursday dinner at a quiet Italian place in Little Italy. "You keep checking your phone. What's up?" I told him about the invitation, the expectations, the lie I had been living. He listened without judgment, then said quietly, "You don't have to decide tonight. But when you're ready, I'm here." His patience was the anchor I needed. That night, walking back to my car, I realized the conflict inside me had shifted from fear of what I felt to fear of losing him. The psychological weight pressed down, but for the first time, I didn't run from it. Summer heat settled over Chicago like a heavy blanket, and our secret world grew both sweeter and more fragile. Patrick and I spent weekends exploring hidden corners of the city, Millennium Park picnics, Grant Park walks, where we could hold hands for a few stolen seconds when no one was looking. Each touch felt like defiance and freedom at once. One humid Saturday, we drove out to the Indiana dunes, the same beach where we had camped as college kids. The sand was warm under our feet, and for a few hours we were just two guys enjoying the waves. Patrick built a sandcastle like an idiot, making me laugh until my sides hurt. As the sun dipped low, he turned serious. "Kenneth, I know your family means everything to you, but hiding us is starting to hurt me too." I stared at the horizon, the water turning gold. "I'm trying, Patrick. Every day I wake up and the first thing I think about is you." "But Dad, if he finds out..." The words trailed off. He squeezed my shoulder. "I get it. Just don't shut me out." Back in the city, the misunderstandings started small but grew sharp. My coworker Lisa invited me to her birthday party, a rooftop event downtown. Patrick was supposed to come as my buddy, but at the last minute a client emergency kept him late. When I arrived alone, Lisa raised her glass. "Where's your shadow? You two are practically married." The joke landed like a punch. I laughed it off, but later in the bathroom I stared at my reflection, wondering how obvious we had become. Patrick texted an apology, and I replied too curtly. The next day, he showed up at my office with coffee, looking worried. Did I do something wrong? The misunderstanding escalated when I snapped about needing space. He left hurt, and I spent the afternoon replaying the conversation, feeling like an idiot. That evening, I showed up at his loft with takeout Thai food and a sincere apology. We talked it through and ended up falling asleep on his couch, the first time we had shared space like that without labels. Family pressure mounted when Dad called midweek. "Your cousin Mark is engaged. When are you going to make your mother happy?" The expectation in his voice made my stomach turn. I mumbled something about focusing on work and hung up. Patrick listened over the phone, that night his voice steady. "You're not alone in this, Kenneth. Whatever you decide, I'm with you." His words gave me courage, and the next weekend we took a small step. We drove to a quiet cabin in Wisconsin, just the two of us, no phones, no expectations. For 3 days we cooked together, hiked, talked about dreams, and finally kissed again under the stars. It was slow and careful, full of the years we had waited. When we returned to Chicago, the bond felt stronger, but the secret heavier. Then the first real crack appeared. At a company happy hour, one of the junior designers mentioned seeing Patrick and me at the art gallery. "You guys looked pretty cozy." The comments spread like wildfire through the office gossip mill. My boss pulled me aside the next morning. "Everything okay, Kenneth? You know the firm values professionalism." The warning was polite but clear. I assured him it was nothing, but inside the fear of losing my job mixed with the fear of losing Patrick. That night, Patrick and I argued for the first time about coming out at work. "I can't risk everything I've built," I said, pacing his living room. He stood calm, but his eyes showed the hurt. "And I can't keep being your secret forever." The conversation ended in tense silence. I left without saying goodbye. The next morning, guilt drove me back. I found Patrick sketching at his kitchen table, eyes tired. "I'm sorry," I whispered, pulling him into a hug. "I don't want to lose you." He held me tight, and we spent the day rebuilding. But the psychological toll was mounting. I started having nightmares about my father disowning me, my mother crying, my sister turning away. Each decision felt like walking a tightrope. One wrong step, and everything would crash. Patrick noticed my distraction and suggested therapy. "There's a counselor downtown who specializes in this stuff." No pressure, but it helped me. I agreed reluctantly, and our first session opened floodgates I didn't know existed. The therapist asked simple questions about identity and family legacy, and suddenly the weight felt shared. Mid-August brought the annual family barbecue in Indiana. I drove down alone, Patrick waiting back in Chicago with a promise to answer if I called. The backyard was full of relatives, kids running, uncles telling war stories. Dad clapped me on the back. "Looking good, son. Any special lady yet?" I swallowed the lie and said maybe soon. Emily cornered me later by the grill. "You're different lately. Happier, but also scared. Talk to me." I almost cracked, but the words wouldn't come. Driving home that night, the highway lights blurring, I called Patrick. "I need you." He met me at my apartment, and we stayed up talking until sunrise. The conversation ended with a decision: we would tell my sister first, test the waters. The step felt monumental. Emily's reaction came faster than expected. I invited her to lunch at a cafe near the river, and when I finally said the words, "I'm seeing Patrick," romantically, her eyes widened, but not with disgust. "I knew it," she said, smiling softly. "The way you two look at each other. I'm happy for you, Kenneth." "But Dad," she didn't finish. The warning hung between us. That small acceptance gave me hope, and I told Patrick that night over dinner at his place. He hugged me so tight I could feel his heart racing. "One step at a time," he whispered. But life doesn't move in gentle steps. 2 days later, a mutual friend from college, Jordan, who had always been the loudest at parties, posted a throwback photo on social media tagging both of us with a caption, "These two still inseparable after all these years." Harmless until someone commented, "More than friends." The post spread through our old group chat, and suddenly old acquaintances were texting asking questions. Patrick laughed it off, but I panicked, deleting the notification. The misunderstanding exploded when Jordan called me directly. "Dude, if it's true, good for you. But your dad follows me on Facebook." Just saying. The secret was slipping through my fingers. The big turning point came on a Tuesday evening. My mother called in tears. "Kenneth, your cousin saw something online. Is it true? Are you with a man?" The betrayal hit like a truck. I hadn't told anyone outside Emily yet, but the internet had done the work. Dad grabbed the phone, his voice thunder. "Come home now. We need to talk." I drove to Indiana and silenced Patrick beside me for support, though he stayed in the car when I went inside. The living room felt like a courtroom. Dad stood, arms crossed, Mom crying on the couch. "This is not the life we raised you for," he said, his face red. "Choose. Family or that." The ultimatum landed heavy. I looked at Mom, her eyes pleading, then back at Dad. "I love him, Dad. This is who I am." The words felt like freedom and loss at once. He turned away. "Then you're not welcome here anymore." Mom sobbed, but didn't contradict him. I walked out the door shaking. Patrick held me in the driveway as the reality sank in. My family, the foundation I had built everything around, had cracked open. The days that followed were a blur of grief and anger. I took time off work, calling in sick, while Patrick brought groceries and sat with me through the tears. The psychological consequences hit hard. Nights I questioned every choice, wondering if love was worth losing my parents. Patrick never pushed, only listened, and reminded me I wasn't alone. Then came the betrayal I never saw coming. Jordan, my college friend who had posted the photo, called Patrick late one night, drunk and angry. "You stole my best friend. He was straight until you messed with his head." The words spread through our circle, fracturing old friendships. One by one, texts stopped. The isolation grew. At work, my boss called me in. "Kenneth, we've received complaints about your situation. We need to discuss your future here." The threat was clear. I walked out that afternoon, jobless and reeling. Patrick sacrificed his biggest freelance contract to stay with me, canceling meetings so he could help me update my resume. "We'll figure this out together," he said one night as we cooked pasta in his kitchen. His loyalty was the light in the darkness. But the turning point that changed everything came when my sister Emily showed up unannounced at Patrick's loft. She hugged me hard. "Dad's wrong. Mom's been crying every night, but she's starting to ask questions. I'm on your side." Her support was the first bridge back to family. That weekend, Emily helped us plan a small gathering, just close friends who truly mattered. The event was simple: pizza and beer, but for the first time, I introduced Patrick as my partner without hesitation. The acceptance in that room felt like healing. Yet the storm wasn't over. A week later, Dad sent a single text. "We need to talk. Come home." I drove down alone, this time heart pounding. The conversation was raw. Dad admitted he was scared of losing the son he knew. Mom hugged me for the first time in weeks, whispering, "I just want you happy." It wasn't full acceptance, but it was a door opening. Driving back, I called Patrick, tears in my eyes. They didn't disown me completely. His voice cracked with relief. "That's a start, Kenneth. A real start." The major shift in our fate had happened not in one dramatic moment, but in quiet choices and honest conversations. The psychological weight lifted slightly, and for the first time I saw a future where I didn't have to choose between love and family. The weeks after the family meeting stretched into a new normal. I found freelance marketing gigs to keep money coming in while Patrick picked up extra design work. Our days filled with small routines: coffee in the morning, walks in the park, evenings on the couch, watching old movies. The misunderstandings that once tore at us now became moments we laughed about. One evening, Lisa from the old office reached out apologizing for the gossip and offering a lead on a contract. I was wrong to judge, she said. Her words felt like another piece of the bridge rebuilding. Patrick and I celebrated with dinner downtown, toasting to second chances. But the climax built slowly like a wave gathering strength. My father called again, this time asking to meet Patrick. The invitation shocked me. "Bring him to Sunday dinner," Dad said gruffly. "Your mother insists." I warned Patrick it might be tense, but he agreed without hesitation. The drive to Indiana felt endless. When we pulled into the driveway, Mom greeted us at the door, her smile shaky but genuine. Dad shook Patrick's hand stiffly. Dinner was quiet at first, questions about work, the weather. Then Dad cleared his throat. "I don't understand this," he said, looking at us both. "But I see how you look at my son. And I won't lose him over it." The words weren't perfect, but they were acceptance. Mom cried happy tears. Emily squeezed my hand under the table. The moment felt cinematic, the family table no longer a battlefield, but a beginning. That night back in Chicago, Patrick and I sat on the rooftop of his building, the city sparkling below. I thought I'd lost everything, I admitted. He pulled me close. "You gained yourself, Kenneth. That's the real win." His words sank deep. The sacrifice he had made, his career pauses, his patience had shown me what real love looked like. But the emotional peak came 2 days later when an old high school friend posted a hateful comment on social media after seeing a photo of us together. The words stung, but instead of hiding, I replied publicly for the first time. "This is who I am. If you can't accept it, that's your loss." The post went viral in our circles, bringing both support and more backlash. Patrick stood beside me through the storm. "I'm proud of you," he said. The confrontation forced me to face every doubt head-on. The high point of emotion arrived during a rainstorm that flooded the city. We were caught walking home from a movie when lightning cracked overhead. Soaked and laughing, we ducked into a doorway. Patrick turned to me, water streaming down his face. "I almost lost you once because I was scared to speak up. Never again." In that moment, with thunder rolling, I realized the journey had changed me. The boy who ran from the kiss was gone. In his place stood a man who chose love despite the cost. We kissed there in the rain, the world fading around us. Back at the apartment, we talked until dawn about the future, a small apartment together, maybe a dog, family holidays that included both of us. The psychological growth was profound. I had learned that hiding hurt more than any rejection ever could. The next morning, I woke to a text from Dad. "Tell Patrick he's welcome anytime." The simple message closed a chapter. I showed it to Patrick, and we celebrated with pancakes and plans. But the real climax wasn't the acceptance from family, it was the acceptance I finally gave myself. Standing in front of the mirror later that day, I whispered the truth I had fought for years. "I love him. And that's okay." The weight lifted completely. Patrick walked in, catching the moment, and simply smiled. "Welcome home, Kenneth." The day ended with us volunteering at a local LGBTQ youth center, sharing our story with kids who needed to hear it. Their grateful eyes reminded me why the struggle mattered. Fall colors painted Chicago in gold and crimson, and our lives settled into a rhythm that felt both new and inevitable. I landed a permanent position at a smaller agency that valued authenticity over appearances. Patrick expanded his design studio, taking on projects that celebrated queer artists. Weekends, we drove to Indiana for family dinners where Dad still grumbled about football, but always saved Patrick the best seat. Mom baked extra pies just in case. Emily became our biggest cheerleader, planning double dates and teasing us about wedding plans we weren't ready for yet. The friendships that had fractured slowly mended as people saw our happiness was real. Jordan even apologized over coffee one afternoon, admitting his own insecurities. "I was jealous," he confessed. "You two have something special." The months blurred into a year of growth. We traveled to New York for a long weekend, walking hand in hand through Central Park without glancing over our shoulders. In Los Angeles, we attended a film festival featuring stories like ours, laughing at the screen because our reality felt even more cinematic. Each trip reinforced the lesson that love wasn't about perfection, but about choosing each other every day despite the world. Patrick proposed quietly on our second anniversary at the same rooftop where our story had nearly ended. No grand gesture, just a simple ring and the words, "You've already given me forever, Kenneth. Will you keep doing it?" I said yes through happy tears. The wedding was small, intimate family friends, and the Chicago skyline watching over us. Dad walked me down the aisle, his hand steady on my shoulder. "I'm proud of you, son," he whispered. The words healed old wounds. Looking back, the journey from that rainy kiss to this moment had been full of misunderstandings, secrets, betrayals, and sacrifices. Each one shaped me into someone stronger, more honest, more alive. Patrick and I built a life that honored both our pasts and our future, a home filled with laughter, plants, and the quiet certainty that we belonged together. The societal pressures still existed in headlines and occasional stares, but they no longer defined us. We faced them together, heads high. The emotional arc had come full circle, from fear to freedom, from hiding to living openly. I had discovered that true acceptance starts within and radiates outward, touching everyone willing to see. Our story wasn't perfect, but it was ours, and that made it beautiful. As we stood on the same rooftop years later, watching the sunset paint the city gold, Patrick squeezed my hand. "Worth every storm?" he asked, smiling. I kissed him softly. "Every single one. True or false? True love always requires complete honesty from the very beginning."